Hey there, this is Dan. You're watching The Salty Sea, and one of the most common comments I get is, I wish I had a play group, or I wish it was easier to find places to play. I make videos about Warcry because I think it's an amazing game, but one of the things about tabletop wargaming is no matter how good the game you're playing is, um, it's always going to be second best to sort of the gathering of people that you're sort of creating with the game. Um, I come from Magic, and they have a saying, it's not the magic, it's the gathering. And I think that really applies to Warcry as well. It's at its best when you have a community of folks to play with. Like these Daughters of Cain up here, them and Slanesh, they've just made such a great community. They're always going at it with each other. And, I wish that for everyone. Um, because, nerding out on these games, it can be a lonely endeavor. You know, you spend a lot of time painting a model even when you're speed painting, it still takes ages, right? I mean, if you paint a squad in 3 hours, people would say you moved through it really, really fast, but 3 hours is a long time. You could watch 2 movies in that time. Um, and so, I think part of what makes all that time spent sort of on your own in the hobby worth it is the few times when you then meet up with people and compare what you've been doing, what you've been up to. And, depending on the game you're playing, depending on where you live, it can be tough to find that. And there's a few different solutions for that. One is, of course, in-person events. You know, we've got Gen Con and Nova coming up this summer that are going to be really exciting events that will draw people from all around the United States. Um, then also, I think local game stores are going to be playing a lot more Warcry after the expansion comes out. I think that there's a lot to look forward to there. We've, still only have the news of it being Nurgle versus Hashut, but there's a lot to be excited about there. There's also going to be these organized play packs that are going to come out, so that's going to incentivize a lot of stores to run a Warcry event or two, and that'll be really cool. But sort of failing that, one of the best solutions is kind of finding an online community. And so, I've really had a great time doing that on Discord. Facebook, Reddit can also be alternatives there. But all of them, even Discord can kind of often just devolve into people yelling at each other about a game and never actually playing. That's a pretty easy complaint to make about any of these online forums for anything, whether it's Warcry or not. But it doesn't work for everybody. That's why I wanted to make this video about something cool called Animosity Campaigns. They came to me kind of asking that I could give them a shout out, and then it looked cool enough that I decided to do a whole video about it. So, Animosity Campaigns is a kind of self-contained continuity within the AOS world that a bunch of people have worked really hard on sort of fleshing out the details for. They've got maps of two different realms, the realm of metal and the realm of beasts, that they are then transposing onto each other. They've got an incredible amount of detail all over the place on it. And it's going to be kind of a collaborative narrative where, imagine you've got 6 or 7 DMs and 200 players, right? And it's like a Dungeons and Dragons thing. That's not exactly what it is, but I think it works that way to be a really great opportunity to meet and build with kind of like-minded internet folks who are playing in this universe, playing either AOS or Warcry or Soulbound. And I think that's really exciting. The other thing it can do, if you're not really a narrative player, and you do more competitive stuff, I know I mostly make competitive content on this channel, is these little narrative things can be a really cool way to give your competitive testing games a bit of actual stakes. That's actually the main way I'm going to be using this campaign is, building two pretty competitive lists together, jamming them against each other, and then the winner gets to have the little narrative for this thing sort of done from their point of view. That can be kind of fun. And it can be kind of fun with a friend if you guys are testing for a tournament to kind of add this in for a little bit of extra stakes, because you're not going to like bet money on your games, right? So betting, a little narrative on it can be fun instead. And so before we get too deep into it, I just wanted to talk about why I wanted to talk about this, right? Because about 6 months ago, Goonhammer, which is a site you've probably heard of, created a survey for their audience to sort of find out what their audience is into. And Goonhammer is primarily just a 40K competitive site. They do a little bit of AOS stuff too, but it's mostly just kind of 40K nerdery meant towards winning tournaments. And the fascinating thing about it was most of their viewers are not competitive players. Only 16% would say that narrative or competitive is their first choice. And their players are almost all kind of other things. However, their favorite content on Goonhammer is almost always the competitive stuff. And that's sort of really informed, I think, my approach to the game in that, I try to make competitive content for casual and narrative players, right? And I think that Animosity Campaigns really, really fits as sort of something you can do with your sort of, you can take these competitive lists that I create and you can kind of run them up against each other for this narrative. And I think that that's really cool. So let's talk about kind of what they do, how it's done, kind of get a feel for what you're doing, right? So the first thing I would do is just read the brief kind of unfolding narratives. They've got 6 short stories. You can see the titles for 4 of them here. And you've got sort of 5 ways you can kind of participate. The first is play reports. So basically you play a game, someone wins, someone loses. You can even just play on your own. You don't need a buddy, because one of the things about testing solo, it really behooves you for tournament preparation to test solo just on your own, even if, you might have some self-judgment about it being kind of a lonely thing. But this is going to make it feel like you're not alone, because you're going to be submitting the report and having actual narrative, actual other people write narrative based on the report you submit. And that can give you kind of much more of a feeling of togetherness while you play, right? The other ways to do it is just hobby reports. You can link to a newly painted model. You'll need to put it up on social media, something like that, and then just sort of write about it. You can also do a writing report, so just a short story, 500 to 2K. You can also do any kind of non-written storytelling, so you can do like an action shot in a game with a caption. You can do audio, animation, stuff like that. You can go wild there. And then you can also do kind of arts and crafts. So this is where cosplay would come in, fan art would come in, anything like that. And then you have this option afterwards of just writing a little narrative summary, just kind of a cool little something that you think that they can use to tie your report into the overall narrative. It doesn't have to be a ton of effort, right? So some of these would be quite a bit of effort, right? Writing a really good 2,000 word short story is actually really hard. I've tried it a few times. But some of them are not that hard, right? You're going to be painting anyway. Why not take a pic of your model, share it online, and then, just do a quick blurb, because under 600, right? It's not over 6. Under 600 is practically anything. Do a quick blurb on it and submit it, and then people will use that model, and it'll be really cool. So there's a ton of different ways to do it that can be kind of as involved or as hands-off as you want. And I think that's really cool. What excited me about it, besides the competitive testing games, I don't know if you know who Mary Robinette Kowal is. She's an author, actually Hugo Award-winning author, I think. Also has a podcast called Writing Excuses. She has created a really cool sort of flash fiction guide that I kind of want to follow and try to write a couple for this narrative. The way you do it is you get a prompt of a job, a noun, and a genre. So the genre obviously is going to be the AOS universe. The job, they actually really help you with this, and I'll show you in a moment, but they've got these factions that have their own jobs attached to them. And then the noun, you can just pick kind of any noun in the universe. Then your first challenge, you get 2 intro sentences. You have to illustrate what your character's job is and work the noun into the 2 sentences while saying, what is your character trying to do? What is stopping them from doing it? And you need to be able to do this in 2 sentences, which you'd think is pretty wild, but it forces you to be really efficient with your words, which I think is really fun. And then something about how you write those sentences needs to kind of give the reader a clue onto the genre. Then you set up a try-fail cycle, so you're either yes, but, with sort of, they try to do the thing they're trying to do. Does it work? Yes, but there's something else in the way. Or it's, no, it didn't work, and there's another problem. Then, depending on how long you want it to be, you can do another try-fail cycle, or you can just do a resolution cycle, which is, I'm going to try to do my thing this way. Does it work? No, but something else happened to make me get to my goal. Or yes, and something else also got me even better in my goal. And then finally, in the ending, you mirror your first 3 sentences. I've tried this a few times, and she usually tells you to put a half-hour limit on what you do to make you speed write it. I've never managed to do it in half an hour, but I have managed to do it in an hour a few times. And it's a really good time, and I think that this narrative campaign is a really great way to kind of showcase this and give yourself an option to do it. The world that you're going to be in is this really cool thing that they've imagined where the realm of beasts and the realm of metal are kind of merging in on each other. They have fully built maps for each area, and they have this fully built map of the way that the two things merge on each other, including an area over here where there's flooding in the realm of metal, so you could just kind of walk into water if this, what they call the bleed, kind of gets you. They've also done an incredible amount of work with kind of creating points of interest in the world and then writing about them, illustrating them, giving you opportunity to kind of either set games there or write about them, or kind of you could paint a warband that's kind of themed to be living in one of these areas. And they've also got these teams, right? So they've got the Sky Guard of Barak Drak, the Storm Dance Reavers, Galbak's Company, the Cult of the Burrowing Fang, and all of these are kind of, they've put a ton of care into each of them. They've given you kind of a short rundown of their motivations. Personally, I'll probably go with the Nashwan Cabal. I love my Mindstealer Spheranx. It's actually painted somewhat similarly to what this one is. So that'll probably be my first attempt at a short story, is writing that. I also haven't played any games with it in Warcry, because competitively it's kind of just a slightly worse contorted epitome. If the epitome didn't exist, I think the Spheranx would be really, really good. But I think it'll be a great opportunity to kind of work it into some warbands and see how those warbands fare against sort of competitive lists that I already own. And then try to write short story, write the battle report in short story form. That's kind of something I'm excited about and something that I think is going to be cool. So they also kind of created here a little guide to the basic motivations of each of these. There is a main narrative about a sort of slumbering, half-dead dragon god beast that each of these factions is trying to sort of control in their own way. You can build everything around that, or you can just completely ignore it, right? Because what I showed about these sort of points of interest, not all of these have much to do with this dragon storyline. So if you love that storyline, you can go all into it, or otherwise you can just explore the rest of their world just kind of on your own, which I think is fun. So I hope this kind of as a PSA is something that kind of people can work with. I know people ask me all the time kind of what they can do about the fact that they kind of don't have a playgroup at home. I think that this is one of many really great sort of options for dealing with that. And I hope you give it a try. Registrations are basically any time until the end of the campaign, but it's easiest if you start before June 29th. Just the reason being, that way you'll be fully caught up right from the beginning, and sort of the event will be a little bit more sort of engrossing for you if you do that. So give it a try. I'll link their website down below, and you can check out their new player FAQ, all of that. You can join their Discord, and if it works for you, it works for you. Otherwise, I'll see you at some of these summer tournaments.